My inspiration for this week's upload was a comment from last week's cash winner, Mark. So Mark left several comments on the channel, but this one in particular struck a chord with me. So Mark said, working 70 hours a week in a certain office isn't freedom, it's gold-plated slavery for the masses. Now that's a little bit blunt maybe, but honest, and I like that. Personally, I've made a lot of financial mistakes throughout the last 10 years, and if I'd known just a handful of things, it would have made a huge difference to the overall bottom line, which is why I wanted to create this week's upload. So watch it through to the end, take the tips on board, and I'm sure that it will pay you back handsomely. Before we get into the details though, this week's £100 cash winner is Peter Paul. So if you want to be on the chance of winning £100 cash next week, make sure you subscribe to the channel publicly and leave an interesting comment down below, just like Mark and Peter have previously. The winner will be announced on next week's upload. And also, if you're feeling extremely generous, don't forget to tap the like button down below now. Now, before everyone starts in the comments with, money doesn't make you happy, blah, 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 blah. I've heard it so many times before. No, money doesn't make you happy. It gives you options and choices, which is essentially freedom. But you only get that freedom if you do the right thing with it, as Mark was saying in some of his previous comments. So here's an interesting thought. It's reported that 76% of professional football players are in some kind of financial stress within 2 years of retirement. The reason for it is simple. That constant need for things that we seem to have developed in the Western world. So leading a consumerist lifestyle, living beyond your current means, and being concerned about things like social status amongst other people, all of which are a total waste of time and energy. Now, I don't want to be a hypocrite because it took me a while to work this one out, and a few expensive girlfriends. But assuming you actually want to make progress and move forward, you need to understand it's not necessarily about how much money you have, it's about how efficient and effective you are with the money that you do have. So I believe the quickest way to do this is to focus intensely on reducing your current expenses and then work on maximising your income. Learn to value the freedom that it brings you rather than the things that you don't actually need. Because when you do this, something special happens. You suddenly have the option to say no more often. And when you can say no all the time, you can be more picky about what you do say yes to, meaning you get a better value deal. I mean, what's the point in having a Ferrari if you've got to work 80 hours a week and jump through everyone else's hoops just to have it? Now, I've made this mistake in the past, but when people first come into money, or if they've been used to having money for an extended period of time, it's easily done. But ultimately, it's a losing battle. Spending excessive amounts of money on luxury holidays, expensive cars, lots of partying are all quite wasteful. Now don't get me wrong, all of those things are great fun over the short term, but over the longer term they're just going to slow you down and hold you back financially. Now I much prefer to spend my money on things like assets, investments, heavily reduced holidays, and just generally appreciate the freedom of doing what I like when I like. It's a far better way of living because I get to enjoy life right now at age 34. In my opinion, people have it wrong where they save up for retirement age 65 for their whole life so they can then go and do some travelling. What's the point? At 65 you're nowhere near as mobile and you can't enjoy things anywhere near as much. Plus, it means I don't have to worry about a lot of stressful things right now, such as, the 9 to 5 rat race, commuting to and from work, having a boss that's constantly breathing down my throat, pressurising me for various things, and I can afford to say no to annoying emails about people wanting to sponsor my YouTube videos. This is why I've become more restrictive in my own spending over the last few years. I can tell you now, it's 100% worth it. Because when there's no obligation to do things for other people, I have more freedom. When I have more freedom, there's less stress. And when there's less stress, I'm happier. So to go back to that original comment, maybe money does make me happy. It's a great position to operate from when it comes to making future financial decisions too. Plus, you can't get taxed on the benefit you receive from sacrificing items that you never really needed in the first place. Not yet anyway. I'm sure the revenue will work that out at one point or another though. So it's been a hard lesson for me over the last 10 years to achieve and reach where I am now, having come from a low income background, having very little, sometimes not having things that people might have considered to be very basic. In fact, the first time I went in a plane, I jumped out of it in the military, and I think it was the second time I went in a plane, I went to Afghanistan. As you can appreciate, that was a bit of a huge step for me to take to then become successful at trading and make significant amounts of money. I started spending money like a pop star each week, being very frivolous, having big blowouts, and not quite the same scale as footballers that earn maybe 500k a week, but I've been there and I've done those similar things. So please, 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 if there's one thing you take from this video, avoid doing that. So a quick recap, things to avoid would be expensive cars in particular, women, luxury holidays that are excessive in cost, and just generally anything that massages your ego in order for somebody else to make a large profit. On the other hand, you want to embrace things like sacrifice, investments, assets, leveraged income, anything that's going to allow you to pay for all your liabilities and expenses passively, or at least in an easier way than having to work the 9-to-5 grind week after week. So not being financially obligated is the goal here. You don't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard, admittedly. However, you do want to be the less stressed bloke in the graveyard, and hopefully the last one to arrive. This is a point that Mark also made very well in some of his comments on previous videos, that, you know, some people technically die at 27 and just wait to get buried at 80. You don't want to be one of them people. Enjoy life in the middle there, and also remember, if you should achieve financial freedom, have all the things you want, passive income, push forward into the future, make good decisions, then it's highly likely a lot of people are going to become critical of you, turn around and say that, you know, you're a lucky bastard, and explaining why you should be spending more money. Don't let them deter you. Let them go back to their iPhone X, their credit cards, while you take the low stress route. In the meantime though, if you're looking for ways to enhance your income, check out this video here in the end screen.